All right, so with that, we're going to go to brief presentations from each of these awesome projects, and then you'll be able to hear more and ask questions when we get into our breakout group. And I'd like to start with David from Cooperation Humboldt. What I've been especially inspired by with their project is how they're not seeing it as just a one-off project. It's not just during this time of crisis. It's an opportunity to build their local movement. I think they're doing that really strategically, and I'm hoping David will speak to that a bit as well. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Marissa. And would you remind me how much time I should go?
About 5 minutes, a little longer is okay, up to 8,
okay.
But here.
In that case, I will be very brief and share my screen. What I am showing you is the Cooperation Humboldt website for what we're calling our community response. This is the Cooperation Humboldt front-facing one. I'm also very happy to tell you that in the short amount of time, this is now a Humboldt County Community Response Coalition. We have now 20 different organizations who are actually rolling with us, including the Wiyot Tribe, Physicians for a National Health Plan, a local radical anarchist mutual aid network, the NAACP, Black Humboldt, Central del Pueblo. I mean, I could go down that list, right? What I'm telling you is, and I say this with humility, the progressive community is actually sort of coming together into this coalition. What we have been able to do is, even as we've done all the things I'm about to tell you, we have simultaneously built a process to make and implement decisions as a coalition. So you won't be surprised. We have a food we have a food distribution system. We have an emergency, like I need medicine, I need like anything that is a community need. The county is finally beginning to respond to some of this, but we were frankly ahead of them, our own government, in being able to actually respond, because as transitioners, this is what we were doing, right? We were prefigurative to this. So what we've done is we have a system, we've got about $2,000 now and growing of food in warehouses at 4 different locations across our community. And we have a system in place where there are people responsible for each one in those 4 places. And from that, there are nodes to distribute out. And we have a running Google sheet where it is automated. Anybody who registers a need, it goes into that system. Everybody can access it. And that we have one person whose job is to sort of constantly be looking and watching. And if it's an urgent need, that gets filtered into another place. So that's just the food, toilet paper. We also are doing gardening, and this is what Marissa was talking about. Cooperation Humboldt already had a very active food production and distribution network. We are now shifting into small mini gardens that we are literally delivering to people parallel to, but separate from, the bulk food distribution process that we're running. In addition, we have a nightly, quote, party in place Zoom call. People can sign up to host a tarot reading, host a yoga session, host a poetry reading, like you name it. And there is, again, as you can guess, one person who is tasked with the responsibility of holding that and making sure that it's properly shared. We have a weekly mental health opportunity for folks to just call and get sort of group support through that. In addition, we have a weekly call for policy and advocacy, and this is key for me. I am not willingly going back to the pre-COVID world. I am using this as the opportunity to say, and pardon the language, fuck capitalism and fuck the exploitive, oppressive systems that have actually put us in this position. And so we are without apology saying we are going to use this to increase our demands around housing as a human right, Food is a human right. Clean water and clean air is a fundamental human right. So, and that is a weekly meeting. We also have a weekly meeting decision-making of the coalition partners themselves, and this is key because on those calls, each coalition organization gets one vote. We strive for consensus, and I say this again with humility. Everybody sees and knows that Cooperation Humboldt is the anchor organization, but from jump, we made the commitment that this is a coalition. We will anchor it. We are doing, frankly, probably 75, 80% of the work, but when decisions are made, including about how that money is spent, it is a consensus-seeking process, and every organization has an equal vote, whether they're a 501c3 or not, no matter how big or small they are. Lastly, we do, so that's a Wednesday, once-a-week decision-making call. We also do a Monday and Saturday coalition information-only call for folks, and this is like, don't only join if it's helpful or you want some conversation and better clarity. So that we're, again, trying to build the bicycle while we ride it. Last thing, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do a volunteer orientation call so that anybody who is coming in on that intake form, you'll notice we only have the register the need. We were actually overwhelmed by volunteers, so we had to take that off because we had to stop and pause for a moment because more of our community members wanted to offer to help. And we found out that they were delivering things without following our protocols. Last thing I'll say, because I know that I'm eager to hear from the other presenters as well, at Cooperation Humboldt, which is the local transition initiative, we have also increased by not doubling, but threefold our study groups on the solidarity economy. We do from banks and tanks to cooperation and caring. We do a session on deep adaptation. In other words, we're using this as an opportunity to help for people to really understand the interconnectedness of white supremacy, capitalism, patriarchy, and imperialism that put us into this place. I apologize for sort of going so fast, but I'm afraid I did not even keep it to the 5 minutes, so I apologize to the other presenters, and hopefully maybe we can have some comments or questions at another time. Thank you all for what you're doing.
Thank you, David. And it's okay, I built in a little buffer time, so that should be fine. I'm just waiting for the screen to stop sharing, and we'll switch to Susan. Susan, if you're here, you're going to be up next.
I am here.
Okay, great. Wonderful, welcome.
Great.
And just, is there anything we need to do to stop this? Okay, there we go. Great. Wonderful.
So,
Hi, everyone.
Hello. And I'm going to actually also bring on 2 other colleagues, or maybe it's 4. I think there's a couple people in the background to speak about the work that they're doing, and then they can dive deeper into it in the breakout sessions. But yeah, I'm Susan Silber, calling from Berkeley, California, and the founder and director of the Northern California Resilience Network. And we're building a network of organizations and projects that are working on community-based, nature-inspired solutions. So our work is really just honoring the work of all the amazing projects that are happening in Northern California, and there are so many out there. So we're really trying to just connect, collaborate with many of these groups. And we have our signature project, the Resilient Hubs Initiative, looking at sites as demonstrations of resiliency, and you'll be hearing from two of those sites with the principles of looking at disaster preparedness, like we have right now, and then permaculture, sustainability, infrastructure, and then community engagement and equity. And with the COVID response, we've done a couple of things. First of all, we've created a share calendar of all the different online workshops, webinars, et cetera, that are happening with our groups and out there. And then as well, we have started a weekly call as well. Not as many calls as Cooperation Humboldt, but that's something to strive for. And want to talk briefly about the work that's happening to grow more food. Before this happened, we had gotten some funding to provide mini grants for the hubs, and several of them did apply and to focus on growing or supporting their gardens. And so, for food security is such an important, urgent issue. So I'm going to turn it over to first Dor from Canticle Farms to talk a little bit about the work that they're doing, and then we'll hand it over to Veronica and Jonathan from Place for Sustainable Living. So Dor.
Hello. I'm calling from Canticle Farm, and we're in Fruitvale in East Oakland. And Canticle Farm is about a community of 20 people. 22 people at 6 different houses, and that all the fences have been taken down, and there's one big permaculture garden community, and it's also a restorative justice place. Like one of the houses is all people that are formerly incarcerated, and we have just a diverse community. And in terms of disaster preparedness and permaculture and resiliency, where there's a creek that was originally flowing through the area, and so we're restoring the creek because it's been blocked up with concrete, but we've been like breaking it down a lot and putting a lot of native plants and restoring the creek. We do have rainwater harvesting system. We're doing gray water and trying to like keep as much water. We have a well too that we're working on getting an active pump for, so that we just have as much resiliency in terms of water in the city. And hopefully, and we got big Berkey filters as well for the rainwater, so in case we need that. And then we can also maybe provide water for our community members here. It's a lot of and so in case of disaster, we're also working a lot on food production, and we just got another grant from the NorCal Resilience Hub, so that's going to be really helpful as well. And yeah, just right now we're just working on creating more space in the greenhouse, even to seed a lot more stuff, so also for us to have more stuff, but so we can pass out to neighbors and other people in the community. And we're also working on a variety of plants, and a big thing for me too that we've been working on is also like how to cultivate and use weeds, things that are growing here anyways, and like dandelions and mallow and nettle, like things, and we're really growing them and harvesting them and learning how to use them as well, so that they provide us sustenance and medicine and cleavers. So those are a few things that we're working on right now. And yeah, I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah, and we'll have more time to talk in the breakout session, but let's turn it over to Veronica and Jonathan, who can talk a little bit about Place for Sustainable Living. We have about, a minute left?
Yes, I'll try to do this quick. I don't know why my name is coming up as Susan Silber, but I'm here.
Funny.
John is not here. I am representing Places, people linking art, community, and ecology. We've been around for 9 years in North Oakland. We're just a group of folks that came off of a Sustainable Living Roadshow, doing that nationwide and locally, and decided we wanted to root down and try to make a difference where we live and have impact and see impact. So we've been around for 9 years. We're a demonstration site, educational, sustainable educational site. We're also maker spaces. So many of our events and classes suddenly shut down. So we're trying to do the same thing that everyone else is trying to do, just to make these make this available online to those who are privileged enough to have online means. But also, I would say that immediately what we're doing, and thank you to NorCal for the mini grant that we just received today, that we are going to be making medicines for the folks who are most at risk and elderly in our communities. And we're in partnership with local nurseries, Black-owned nursery called Spiral Gardens in Kanchan is going to help with this distribution process of getting it to folks that need it. It'll be at least 300 bottles of fortifying tinctures, 12-ounce bottles. So that's the sort of immediate, but what we started to do also is to galvanize our local community assets through the St. Columba Church and helping them distribute food as we get donations and distribute food to encampments that are local, that are also through the North Oakland Restorative Justice Council, which we are a partnership with. So our strength is our community strengths and our allies and our partners. So we are working to do this work together so that there is like an understanding of what is being done and what's not being done, and not duplicating efforts, but just elevating efforts. And so the grant will help to produce the medicines as an immediate, and also just working with the church as they're doing weekly donations of prepared foods as well. The other piece would be the pallet planter, that idea of more growing food onto a model that is an easy garden to put in front people's front yards, which we started to do several years ago, but we just need more funding. And of course, there are workshops. You know, Canticle has a pallet planter, drought resistant model, which is comes from Ben Farr's Top Leaf Farms. And so, yes, thank you for this time.
Thank you so much. Wow, that brought tears to my eyes.
You can't see me, I guess.
All right, wonderful. Okay, next we're going to go over to Case Kolf, who is in Port Townsend, Washington, to tell us a little bit about their local investment opportunities network emergency loan fund.
Yes, well, first, thank you for this wonderful opportunity to explain about Lion. We were inspired by the international transition movement, and in 2006, residents in Jefferson County launched something called Local 2020, website l2020.org, dedicated to promoting self-reliance, sustainability, and resiliency at a community level. And Lion, the Local Investing Opportunity Network, emerged as one of the many Local 2020 action groups, which dealt with everything from local food resilience to emergency preparedness, education, healthcare, and whatnot. Lion is actually a dating service that helps local potential lenders and investors learn about local businesses that could benefit from loans of either cash or equity investments, particularly if they can get if those businesses cannot get traditional funding. Over a dozen years, almost 80 businesses have benefited from about $8 million worth of short and long-term support. And this is in a county with only 30,000 people. Some of the loans have been recycled many times to different businesses. Last fall, because of the increasing local affordability housing emergency, a housing solutions network was formed in the county, and Lion launched an effort called Neighborly Rentals to see if Lion investors might support helping fund an increase in workforce housing, rental housing in particular. 20 members indicated that they might be able to help with over $200,000 in loans over the next 2 years. Then COVID-19 pandemic struck, and as most of you know, Washington State was the first US epicenter for the pandemic and now has over 6,000 cases and has had 250 deaths. Jefferson County is perhaps 2 weeks behind the Seattle area surge, and we're expecting, and so far have only 20 confirmed cases in Jefferson County. However, local businesses and nonprofits already felt the economic recession in February, and then the governor's very appropriate stay-at-home pleas and finally order last month hit very hard. And many individual Lion investors quickly reached out to the businesses and nonprofits that we were already supporting with deferment of some of the loan payments so that these businesses and nonprofits might be able to survive the crunch that's going to happen in the next couple of months and the dramatic economic crisis that has hit this community as well as many others across the country. So in early March, Lion quickly established an expedited COVID-19 application process for local entities, asking them to state what they needed in additional cash to survive during each of the next several months. And that resulted in 12 businesses already asking for $40,000 in March and April, $60,000 in May, $60,000 in June, and $35,000 beyond that. And we suspect that this is only the beginning. Businesses like taverns, clothing stores, the movie theater, a whole variety of different kinds of businesses applied. As far as we know, only 3 of them have received funding so far. And we don't have a very good system in place for tracking because Lion, since it is only a dating service, we don't require people to go through Lion in order to make the arrangements with local businesses. That is all done directly between the potential investors or lenders and the individual businesses. However, we also know that many of the Lion members who have helped provide these funds over the years have already donated to the local Jefferson County Community Foundation, which has raised $150,000, not just from Lion members, but from the community at large, in order to help support with emergency funding, both nonprofits and businesses. And they've already, just in the first week of operation, they've already made $32,000 worth of donations now. These are not loans to 3 different entities in the community. So we are part of a very broad community effort to make this all work. And one of my own personal challenges is that I live at the Port Townsend Eco Village, where we have 31 adults and 10 children sharing 7.5 acres and multiple shared amenities like the well, a common shop, etc. And so to keep ourselves safe and stay at home is a whole new trick for us here at the Port Townsend Eco Village, but so far so good. So I'll just end there. That's a very brief summary, and I could share more about the Eco Village or about Lion at any time.
Thank you so much, Case. All right, and now we're going to turn it over to Caroline with Transition US to share about our Ready Together Neighborhood Emergency Preparedness Handbook.
Thank you. I would suspect emergencies are on our minds more than ever before. And today I just wanted to give an overview of one of our newer projects, Ready Together. a neighborhood emergency preparedness handbook. Next slide, Dawn. Thank you. And so the need, obviously, is that we can get swept up in the unexpected, in wildfires, hurricanes, pandemics, or government policy change. And there's thousands of courses on the and websites loaded with preparedness information. And still, research tells us that less than 20% of people are prepared. And why is that? Primarily because it's easier to pretend that it won't happen to us. So I think we're all getting a first-hand account of that, yes, it really can happen to us. Next slide, Dawn. So we can certainly work and prepare by ourselves, and we can get a lot done, obviously. But if we do work with others, we can actually get a lot more done. And Ready Together, it emerged in response to the grassroots, to all the needs. Here in Northern California, we've seen forest fires, wildfires, city fires over the last 5 years. So there's really an intention to get more prepared in this part of the world, and I suspect in many other parts of the country as well. And local government, the Red Cross, Community Emergency Response Team, can all be very useful resources. But again, we're not taking advantage of them. And often those ones are focused on more large-scale relief. Ready Together fills an important niche by harnessing the power of community and build relationships right in our place. Next slide. So this is how it works. Ready Together brings together clusters of 5 to 8 households. Groups of this size can often fit in a living room or around a large table in a cafe. So it's a very good and workable size. And in these current times, we've just in-house talked about how can we move this forward with any cluster of people of a similar size, but over Zoom. So over 7 sessions, people come together. Don, you can go to the next slide, thanks. And then, and they go through 7 sessions together. Between the sessions, each household does their preparedness homework that they pledged to do at the last session. The next session, they get together and report on the progress that they've made. And often if someone had any difficulty or couldn't get things done, the participants of the group will offer help and encouragement. And by speaking the word, by giving the pledge out loud to other people to do these things, and then to have friendly peer support to help motivate and encourage people, people actually get things done over 7 sessions. So by the end of the sessions, you'll have completed your household preparedness work. You'll have sufficient food, water, supplies for sheltering in place, go bags for each family member and pet, and well thought out evacuation plans should the need arise. And if you are unable to get all the food supplies you need, you can have a plan in place for when you're going to get that. So with all of this combined, the handbook, the homework, and the friendly support, you and your household will have gotten prepared, and on the real plus side, you will have gotten to know your neighbors. And so the plan that we have is to pilot with 3 to 5 clusters. We were on track for that, and then COVID-19 hit. So we're rethinking how we might do it virtually without having people go shopping and get their supply. After we incorporate or the feedback, we'll get some diverse editors to really look at it, to improve it, and then we'll launch publicly. And along with those steps, we'll be working on supplementing the handbook with webinars, in-person workshops, curated collection of supplemental resources, and a community of practice. And we are working on additional partnerships with local fire departments, emergency managers, Catholic charities, Map Your Neighborhood projects, as well as developing sponsorship opportunities. And we also see that this could be adopted on a large scale. And our end game goal is that we want to see more households prepared and an increased awareness of neighbors and what our neighbors need in an emergency. We have these partners. So we started this a few years ago, and we have worked over a year with News Stories and the City of Renton's Office of Emergency Management. And together, the Office of Emergency Management ensured that all the information was Red Cross and FEMA information, nothing new added. And then News Stories helped really package it and helped us with the flow and with some of the website information, et cetera. Last slide, Don. So this website is in process, but you can go there, readytogether.net. At the bottom of the page on that website, you can link through to a form. And if you fill out that form, you can be sure that you will be one of the first to know when Ready Together is available for public launch. And yeah, let me know if you have any other questions or suggestions in the breakout room. Thank you.
Great. Awesome. Thank you, Caroline. Wow, that was rich. I loved hearing the diversity of stories happening at all levels, and we have so much material to work with here.